back for another episode on our podcast. What are we talking about today, Pete? I'm so glad you asked, sir. Well, we are going to talk about training cycles. Now, not training on a cycle and not training for cycle, but training cycles. So blocks of training, in other words. Some of us might know what I'm talking about, some of us may not, some of us may already use it. And we're going to talk about a couple of the different types of training cycles that you can use to your effect. Now, what a lot of us have seen, so there's a couple, you can do complex training cycles and you can do very simple training cycles. And a lot of us, when we first start out, are often told that you train for, you might, let's take weights training for example. You might spend 2 or 3 weeks on the same weights, and over the course of that 2 or 3 weeks, you might find by the second week the weights that you were using start to get easier, and then by the third week you're starting to find that the whatever X amount of reps that you do on those weights become quite manageable, and then it's time to go a little bit heavier, rinse and repeat. So that's quite a simplistic program. With that, when we first start out, we might say, cool, find a weight that you might do 10 reps with it, and then when you first start out, the 10th rep should be sort of nearly impossible, and after 3 weeks, that 10th rep is quite possible, and it's quite achievable, and then it's time to boost the weights up. So that's a very simplistic point of view. There are so many other types of training cycles as well. So just as there are 1,000 different flavors of coffee, and they're all still coffee, there's 100 different ways of doing training blocks, and they're all still training. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 of the most common ones. So what have we got? Let's pull up here. The 2 that I want to talk about, and this is a neat little website. So this is called breakingmuscle.com. There are block training cycles and then a linear training cycle. So linear is kind of what I just described. And I'm going to pull up a little graph here just to sort of demonstrate what I'm talking about. Block training cycles are time blocks that are put together in a structured manner to enable the most out of your workout gains. Tends to be the most adopted method of training amongst higher level to professional athletes, because I won't go too much into the science behind it, but it's had multiple studies done on it to prove that it is more effective than linear types of training cycles. Now, if you are interested in having a look at some studies and whatnot, so this article here, which I'll put a link into the description of the video, this article sort of talks about what's the pros and cons between block versus linear and what is more effective and why. And that's based on and is published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research. It's an older paper, it's in 2014, but the science still stands up. So there's links and things below, I'll put it down there. I'm not here to discuss which one was better and why, but I tend to subscribe to the fact that the block training cycle is more complicated and therefore gets you better results, whereas the linear training cycle is much easier to set up and is a great way to get started into your training. Now, what are we actually talking about here? So here's what we've got here. Let's talk linear. So with the linear training cycles, you start with small training loads and you have small effects, essentially. Now it's a linear, so it means as you increase your training load, and I'm not necessarily talking about weights, it might be the frequency of how often you train, it might be the training loads, or it might be your training duration. So the more that you increase that, the bigger your training effects are, to a point, and we'll talk about overtraining later. So in a vacuum, so let's just talk about in a very simplistic world, very simplistic little vacuum, isolated situation, you increase the number of training sessions you do per week, or you increase the intensity of which you do them, the results you see are going to be better. And there are a whole swag of factors that influence that, like recovery and your nutrition, and this is why not everyone is a personal trainer, because there's a lot of things to monitor there, and those things are not the same for every person, and this is why the whole industry is really interesting, because it's never the same. Now, let's have a talk about block training. Now, block training, that's not a good picture. This one. Now, block training, and this is where you start to hear things like 4-week blocks, 8-week blocks, 12-week blocks, are generally based around, let's just say, so they're basically done in weeks of 4, and I'll explain why 4 in a minute. So generally, when you first start training, you actually see a little bit of a decrease because in an ideal word, you've just taken a step up in your training. So either it's harder training or it's heavier or it's further. And your body will actually take, not damage is not the word I want to take, but it's going to be fatigued. Okay, you're going to have body fatigue, your muscles are going to be worked in the first week, and then as you adapt through weeks 2, week 3, right up to here, that's when you get your increase. So the first week you take a hit, and then you say week 1, week 2, week 3, and as you sort of hit that week 3 and you're coming into your 4th week, about there your body is starting to hit a fatigue in a way that you need to have an extended rest period. And this is what this little dip here indicates. So you've got week 1, week 2, week 3, and then you give what's called a rest week. So a chance for the body to consolidate all the hard work that it's done, give it some good nutrition, and allow it to recover. So you do see in that week a performance dip, but that's negated by the fact that you've had this big increase. So the red line is our baseline. You've had this big increase going up. You then take a little step backwards, a necessary step backwards, to then begin the whole process anew. Now you'll hear things like 4-week challenges, 8-week challenges, 16-week challenges, 12-week. You can see what I'm going with this, and they're all in blocks of 4. Why are they all in blocks of 4? Now, apart from the fact that our calendar is based around 4-week months, give or take, yes, I don't at me, but more or less 4-week calendars, right? That's by and large the main reason is because mentally we are attuned to work in monthly cycles. So we also happen to start seeing results in ourselves. So you will see results in yourself about 2-3 weeks into a training program. You'll start to feel and see some small results. 4 weeks into a training block, you'll really start to notice it, and your close and immediate friends will start to notice it. After 8 weeks, everybody, even those who see you very infrequently, will notice significant changes. So there's a couple of magic numbers there. Look, it varies from person to person, but say look between 4, 6, 8, 12-week blocks. Apart from the fact it dovetails nicely into the calendar, those are sort of the time frames that you will start to see results. Now, let's talk about this dip. Why, in theory, why can't we just keep going up? Because our bodies won't do that. So that is linear progression. And yes, when you first start out and you're taking it easy with lighter weights, you can do that. You can. But there is a point that when you start to hit, I'm going to call it not competitive, let's call it threshold training. So when you start to really push your body's limits, after 2 to 3 weeks, your body's going to hit a point where it cannot recover in time for your next session. And that's when you hit overtraining stimulus. So let's pull up, where's my other neat little graph? This one. Let's zoom that in a little bit, hey? Now, this is a combination of frequency, intensity, and duration. So like I said before, how often do you train, how hard do you train, and how long are you training for? So there is a wonderful little point that's different for everybody, but somewhere along that workload level, your fitness will actually decrease. So you start to put too much stress, you start to burn too many calories and essential nutrients for your body to be able to replace, or you do too much damage to your muscles. And by damage, I mean, DOMs in terms of heavy weightlifting and whatnot. So you start utilizing the same muscle groups that you've already worked too soon, and you haven't given them a chance to fully recover. So instead of increasing your strength, your cardio, power, endurance, whatever it is you happen to be training, you start to actually hit that threshold of you are not recovering fully before your next session, and you actually get worse. And the sad thing is that people often see this and figure, oh my God, I'm not training hard enough. And then they actually start to up their training even more, and it gets even worse again. And you keep getting more and more fatigued, and you keep blaming yourself, and am I not eating enough? And you train harder, and eventually you hit that point of implosion where you actually become quite physically or mentally ill. And I say that with a bit of a chuckle, but it's a very, very serious thing. Whereas it's this negative self-feeding cycle. There's a puppy just down the road that's not happy. Not our puppy. So that's why, particularly in block training, if we just flick back to it, so this is why in block training you have that 1 week dip. That ensures that you give your body that essential little period to regather, to recoup, to regenerate, and then to come back and do it all again stronger. That's the idea behind it. Is it infallible? No, it still happens, but that's the idea behind a coach, behind a personal trainer, and behind you as an athlete to monitor that and listen to your body. So the linear training cycle, which we had just here, that linear model, yeah, it's a great way to start. So if you are looking at, writing out your own programs and your own goals and whatnot, this is not a bad way of doing it. But if you start to hit the point of training where you are really pushing yourself and after some significant increases, you probably need to get a little bit more complicated, and you need to allow for rest and recovery periods. Now, I'm a big believer in block training. Lots of PTs have different schools of thoughts, and like anything, there's not just like, this is block training, this is how it works. There's a lot of different ways of then utilizing block training. I'm making the whole process very simplistic for the point of explanation. Look, there's a heap of really cool resources out there if you are interested in things like, so there's, this is where I got this graph from. So this is from a website called trainrogue.com. I'll put that link down there as well. Then you can also have a look at the article I mentioned before about block cycle training versus linear training, and how studies have shown that block training is actually more effective. And then there's also like a nice, neat little article here from Men's Journal, 12 signs that you're overtraining. And there's a real fine line between looking for, am I overtraining? Am I just not having a good day? Am I not getting enough sleep? These are all factors that you need to take into account. And again, it's why it makes the whole training scenario fun. You got to look at these factors. You got to manage these factors. You need to take yourself away from yourself. So take the emotion out of it and look at yourself as a trainer if you haven't got a trainer. So that's the beauty of having a personal trainer, is they will do all that for you. Otherwise, you need to be able to take that step back and analyze yourself critically and think, cool, where am I on my journey, and am I due for one of those rests? Cool. So I hope that explains a little bit about how training cycles work. If you've got any questions at all about how you might want to apply that to your own training, feel free to send us a message, an email, on Facebook, go to our website, have a chat, or even send us a text message. Cool. Hope that helped, guys. Enjoy your training, and try and bring some training cycle information into your next block of training.